Alright, I know it's been a little bit. This is take 3 of recording this intro because the haters are trying to sabotage me. And by the haters, I mean my PNG tuber software, which keeps stopping detecting my microphone for some reason. I think it's because my computer is trying to do a Windows update that I don't want it to do. You can't see me in here. I'll wiggle the PNG tuber around a lot because in real life I'm gesturing frantically because I don't know. I don't know what to do. I don't want this Windows update. They're gonna put more Copilot in my stuff. I don't want more Copilot in my stuff. I'm an AI hater. You will catch me hating that AI. I don't want Copilot in my stuff. Okay, intro tangent aside, when have I ever not done an intro tangent? I feel like these are my thing. Anyway, it's been a while. My fault. School got busy. Excuses, excuses. I will do it again. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna do it again. Don't even. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna do it again. Um, that said, I have some fun stuff planned. Maybe I'll actually get regular uploads this chunk of time, but don't count on it because I actually have a worse class load than I did last quarter. So, college moment. But that aside, today I have a very fun project that I worked on for like 3 days straight. And that project was learning how to make 3D VTubers. I got inspired by this other artist on YouTube called Acidic Doll. I'll link their channel in my description so you guys can go check them out as well. I got inspired by them. Beautiful, like VRoid models they've been making, and I was like, I want to learn how to do that. So last week, I did this like mostly last weekend, but I am recording this voiceover the next weekend, and you'll probably like I'm recording this on Thursday, and you'll probably get this video Friday, Saturday, Sunday sometime. Don't don't count on it though. If you get this video and it's like 2 weeks from now, it's because I got lazy editing what was about 9.5 hours of footage down into a concise, reasonably length video. So if this is later than the day that I say it's going to be, that's why. But I'm gunning for Saturday or Friday if I really lock in. But I'm realistic expectation Saturday. It's really fun. I had a lot of fun with this. Onto like how I used this, what I did. So I used VRoid Studio, which is a free VTuber creation program. It makes 3D VTubers. It's completely free, and it can export VRM files that are used in most VTubing applications. I tested mine with a couple of different ones. Both work okay. The two that I tested both worked okay, but you do need to make sure some free VTubing applications are only available with what you call it with older versions of the VTuber. So you gotta make sure that you know which version you need to export it as. But VRoid Studio does seem to give you the option to choose which version you want to export as, but you just have to make sure you're aware when you do all that. So we're gonna jump in and I'm gonna show my first little like introduction to the program of sorts. So I will swap the scene and you'll see that here in just a moment. And if it flashed blue, that's because editing Ema did not do a good job at the chroma key right here. And if you see blue still, that's because editing Ema continues to do a bad job at the chroma key right here. Someday I'll figure out how to put these videos together without the chroma key jank, but that day is not today. I'm an artist. I'm not a video editor. So You're going to get what you get, and you're going to learn with me, and we'll be happy someday. We'll get there. So, what we're looking at right now is me working through that program for the first time. I was trying to make kind of a recreation of this PNG tuber model, actually, just because, Miss Ariana here, she's my little Sona. She's kind of the default representation of myself on the internet, and so I use her a lot. So I was like, okay, well, introduction to the program, I'm going to try and recreate Ariana, just like a very rough version of her in this program. So this is me kind of working through that. There's a lot of really good options in this program. I didn't even get into the texturing part, which is something you can do. You can hand paint textures, and you'll see me get into that later in the video. But for this first section, I did not even get into hand painting the textures. It is just me working through the available by default options in the program. There's a ton of different settings and sliders and stuff for the face. I did a lot of tweaking with the face. That's usually the part that is most important on a VTuber model like this. So, I mean, that makes sense, right? So I did all this work on the face and then moved on to clothes. There's a lot of sliders and stuff for the clothes, all of that. My one complaint, and this may not be a valid complaint, mind you. This is my complaint from using the program for the first time. For the first time this week, I've been using this program for less than a week at the point of recording this. I could not find a way to very easily make a plus-sized model. Now, it may well be possible. I've definitely seen people that have similar looking models that seem to be plus size seem to have been made in VRoid Studio, but I cannot be 100% sure. And the options, if they are possible in the program, the options needed to create it are not easily readable. It's not easy to figure out. It's not intuitive to make a more plus sized model. That was something I tried to do. I wanted to mess around with, see if I could, because I care about if a program lets me do that. For the purposes of the models I made for this video, it wasn't necessary, but when I was practicing and learning the program and figuring out how everything worked, I was like, I would like to see if this is possible. So I tested. I couldn't figure it out, but somebody who's more experienced in that program can really answer that for sure. This is just my personal what I've found. And I will be looking into it. If I can find a way to do it, I will definitely let y'all know, because that would be really cool. It would be really nice to have. I think more inclusivity is always a good thing. Once I figured it out and felt like I understood the program, we moved on to the next part, which will be coming up here in a moment on the screen. And that's where I started the 8 hours of work that I spent on the final model that I made for this video. The first chunk was about an hour and a half on the recreation of Miss Ariana here. So then 8 more hours were spent on the final model, and you're seeing the very fast little time lapse that I pulled off of Clip Studio of me putting together just the basic sketch. I had some traditional sketches that I may or may not remember to put up on the screen, but I pretty much knew what I wanted to make, and I just made this sketch together to give myself an image to refer back to while I was working, so I had something to look at rather than just trying to imagine it, because that's never a good idea. But I wasn't too worried about it being a super precise reference. My main goal with designing the model itself was I wanted something seasonal, something cutesy, something that would be kind of fun to put up as an adoptable for people to get at the end, because this model that I'm making, I'm not going to use her. I'm probably not going to ever use a 3D VTuber model. I have my PNG tuber I really like. If I upgrade to something, it'll be a 2D, a live 2D model. not a 3D VRoid, just because the more anime style isn't really my thing. I like my more storybook style that my current model is. So I would be reluctant to change to something that is not in this style that I've already settled on with my PNG tuber and all of my branding and stuff. But this is a learning experience. This was about learning and trying a new thing and experimenting, not making a new model for me. So I was like, okay, I'm going to put all this effort in to make this model, so I want it to be something that other people can use. So I went for like a springy, seasonal, Easter themed bunny girl of sorts. Now we're on to the model itself. Jumped right in on the face. That's what the most important part of a VTuber model is, or a PNG tuber, or anything. You really want that face to pop. You want people to look at it and see your big smiling face and your lip sync and your expressions and whatever. That's the point. Which, yeah. So, I've never actually drawn anything in this kind of anime style. So that was really new for me. I was very much learning on the fly as I started this process. So that's crazy. I felt crazy starting this. I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'm just going to go in straight in with the textures and start doing stuff. And honestly, I'm very pleased with how it worked out. I kept her eyes pretty simple. I wanted it to be very, like, basic, very simple, but because I was planning to use pretty detailed shading everywhere else, so I was like, okay, I want these eyes to pop. They're the most important part. So we did a really simple kind of like pop art. I don't know if it's pop art. High contrast, maybe. Not a lot of shading, very cell shaded on the eyes. And I went with this kind of pink color because I was thinking about like your stereotypical white Easter bunny because of the seasonal and all of that. And white rabbits almost always have red or pink eyes. Maybe they always do. I really don't know, actually. I'm not a rabbit expert, I'm an artist. Um, if you know if there's such a thing as a white rabbit with non-red eyes, tell me, but as far as I know, they always have red eyes. So rabbit experts comment. That said, red eyes, white rabbit. I gave her blonde hair and blonde eyelashes and eyebrows and stuff because, keeping on theme. I did want to figure out how to remove the ears because that's like my biggest pet peeve in like anime animal girl art is when the ears they have two sets of ears that drives me crazy. But I could not figure out how to do that either. It might be possible. I don't know. I just hid them in the hair. So you can't see them in the final model, but we do have to look at them at the beginning here. The face took me a long time. Because I was learning how to do the textures. This was my first section. I did everything from scratch. I kept some of the default options. Like I think I kept her. She's got so the like eyeliner layer, as it's called, is where I did all of her like big blonde, spiky lashes, and then the like eyelash layer on the model. I think I left as like the default one just because it was one where it had like this. It's the one where it has like the white coming into the lashes, and I just really liked it. I was like, I like this. I don't think I can do better than that. I really like this already. So I was like, I don't see a reason to change this because I already really like it. The hair intimidated me, which is why she's still bald when I go to the clothes. Here, when I jump over the clothes, because I didn't want to do it. I was like, that's scary. That's the hardest part on these models. I don't wanna. So I didn't. And did the clothes instead. And this, honestly, the hair would have been easier, I think. The clothes took me forever. I had no idea what I was doing. I had to go part way through and Google how to do something, and I think that might show up in the time lapse, but maybe it won't. I'm not 100% sure on that. because it's sped up a lot, so I can't actually tell. But I was like, okay, we're just gonna block in the shape of the little dress first. So I did that, and then I was like, okay, now I need a t-shirt under this. How do I add a t-shirt under this? And my initial instinct was, okay, I'm just gonna paint on a t-shirt, but then I was like, no, I've definitely seen these where they've got stuff layered. So I went and I Googled, and I was like, how do you layer clothing in VRoid Studio? You know, as you do, typing away, like my typing noises sound there. Um, I had to do it. I was tapping my nails on the desk because I have a really quiet keyboard. It doesn't actually make typing noises. But anyway, I went and Googled that, and they were like, you just do this, this, and this. And I was like, okay, awesome. Did that. And then I had clipping nightmare while I was trying to get this t-shirt done. I ended up just erasing the shirt over her chest where it was clipping through the dress. So if you turn off the layer that the dress is on, it looks really stupid, but it's okay. You know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And if it is broke, don't look at it. Don't look at it. Don't look at it. Just ignore her. Just ignore that. I also did not do the shoes or socks here. I was like, I am scared of the shoes and socks. I don't want to do it. So I didn't do them until later because they scared me. And don't do that. Just do the thing that scares you. But I was like, well, I'm gonna do them eventually. But I'm bouncing around and I'm doing the parts of this process that I'm the most confident in the order that I'm confident in them. So dress first, then hair, then shoes because shoes drawing them is hard too. And I was like, this must be harder than drawing them. It wasn't, but I thought it would be. While I was working on all of this, like shading and all of this stuff, I was doing initially I was gonna use the built-in like VTuber model shading, and then I was like, no, this looks bad. Like this looks ugly. I don't want to do this. And so at some point in this video, I think I might have missed it at this point. You'll see me. I flipped all the shading off on the clothes and went and just did the shading, like baked it in by hand. So this model will not be like have lighting effects that can happen really, or it'll look weird if you put the lighting on the wrong side. But I felt like the baked in shading would just match the style that I wanted to work in a lot better than doing the default ones would. And I do think it looks really, really good. I'm content with it. I hope that anybody who looks at this model and uses this model in the future is also content with it. But yeah, so shading baked in. I also went in kind of at the end and was like, you know what, I want to do line art because I feel like this looks too far removed from the art that I do. So I went back in and I added like little tiny details of line art all throughout. And it's not like a full line thing like my PNG tuber here is. But I went in and just added a bunch of like little lines on some edges and some places to up the contrast and make it feel just a little bit more like it was like hand drawn rather than a 3D model. I'm very happy with how that turned out. Since I skipped the shoes, we go right into the hair after this, which also intimidated me, but apparently 3 days deep in modeling and texturing, Ema was like, you know what? Hair is less scary than drawing shoes. So we did the hair next. And this is definitely the most like labor intensive part of a VRoid model I've realized. And now the clothes took me longer because I was completely lost at how to do it because I hadn't done what I ended up doing on the final model before. I hadn't practiced it in my first one. The hair did not take me that long comparatively, but it did still take me a long time, and it's definitely the most like involved process. It's the only point where I'm actually like really 3D modeling anything rather than just texturing and tweaking settings and stuff, which is really nice. I think that VRoid Studio is really nice because it's so accessible. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that it's easy. And I do think more people should try it out because I think a lot of people are like, oh, I want a VTuber, but I could never. You could. It is so easy. It would be awesome. You could make your own VTuber. It would be awesome. And like, sure, maybe you're not as good at drawing as I am, right? But you don't need to texture. There's plenty of clothing options that you can select from. This program has really good default options, and the only complaint I have about its default options is the lack of like plus sized character ability. But outside of that, the default options are really good, and I do recommend going in and trying it, seeing if you can make something. If you feel like you've wanted a VTuber for ages, but you don't have money to commission one or anything, this is a free program. This is free. I said that earlier, but this is free. Anyway, on back to the hair. You can see what I'm doing. It's you make these guides and you draw the hair along these guides and you're like, okay, I want it to go here. And I think my PNG tuber is covering up me adjusting the settings, but there's a lot of other settings on the side that you can tweak and work through to make things exactly the way you want them to be. And you can add a bunch of different guides. Like, it's not just one guide and then all of the hair follows that guide. You can add a bunch of different ones and a bunch of different hair parts, which you can see me doing here. I've got the bangs, and then I did the ears. Each have their own separate guide so that one ear can be like flopped over and the other one can be just straight up. And then I do the back here. And the back was hard. The back was a challenge because I was trying to, number one, hide the ears, the human ears. Number two, make it feel a little bit like loose, right? Because in my sketch it had a little bit of volume. And number three, make it feel like it's realistically being pulled back into 2 points. So I needed a middle part, which can sometimes be a challenge in certain programs. Sometimes things don't like to make a middle part, but it worked out. I'm not miserable with it. I'm quite pleased with it. I think it looks good. Uh, this I will say the way that hair works in VRoid, not the most well optimized. Might be a little laggy depending on your computer to try and run this model. I did do my best to keep this not egregiously bad. I tried to use big pieces of hair and not use a lot of little strands. And I tried to minimize textures and stuff, but VRoid in general is notorious for having really crazy amounts of like polygons and stuff. So just be aware of that, but you can turn it down when you export. Like, you can make the model low poly when you export. I think later in the video I actually show me like messing with those settings. Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember if I recorded my exporting process or if I just recorded the work on the actual model. But anyway, you can adjust it. I wasn't too worried about optimization. I was like, if this runs on my computer, I'll be happy. Um, and I have a laptop, right? I have a gaming laptop, but it is a laptop. So if you have even remotely a decent computer, you should be fine. This model runs fine. Um, so I wasn't too worried about optimization, but I was also trying my best not to make it like egregious. And then I also go in, I did the little pigtails, right? You see the pigtails on the back. They were quite hard, honestly. They're hollow on the inside, right? Because I don't want to do all these strands that you can't even see. But it was hard to make them look good without being obvious that they're hollow, as well as getting the right shape and stuff that I wanted to match my drawing and to really give her that like childlike whimsy, you know? I wanted them to look like whimsical, poofy, fun, not realistic. So that was quite hard. But I did end up with a very, very pleasing silhouette. I'm very happy with how we ended up at. And then I went in and did on all of the hair, I did these little strands everywhere to like finish up. And I also went in and did textures for the hair so that it all matched my style and it looked more cohesive with the rest of the model. And they did the little strands to add a little bit of texture and dimension, but I didn't want to do them until the end because I didn't want to put strands in places that would then be covered by other hair pieces. So that was the process for the hair. And I only did a couple of textures. I had like a couple of shadow textures and then a couple of light textures depending on where the hairpiece was on the head. And I just used those like 4, maybe 5 textures for the entire hair, and then plus one texture that was used for the bunny ears. And I finally go back and I do the shoes and I do the socks, and I don't know why I was putting these off. They were so easy. I just was intimidated by the concept of how complicated shoes are in real life. But I gave her pretty simple shoes. Like in my sketches, she has pretty simple shoes, and so I just went in and I did those shoes, and it wasn't that bad. And I was being a big baby about it. Is what happened basically. I was being a big baby about it, and then I did it, and it wasn't that bad. Which that's an experience I'm sure many of us have had in the past. So you're not alone. I'm a big fancy artist, and I also am sometimes a big baby about something, and I don't want to do it, and then I do it, and I find out it was not that bad. I really liked also the little stickers and band-aids that I put on her knees. Um, and the socks, the little mismatched, lopsided socks. They're just such a little fun, whimsical design element, and the whole goal was I wanted this character to have like a I just came in from playing outside vibe because I know that's like what I associate with Easter is all of the kids running around outside and goofing off and hunting eggs and all of that jazz. So for fun. And then I think the last thing I did, and I may be saying these things out of the order I did them. I'm doing my best to remember the order I did them in, but that's not my strong suit. Remembering stuff? Uh-uh. Um, but the last thing I did was I went through and I was like, okay, I want the hair to animate correctly. I want the things that should move to move, and I want the things that shouldn't move not to move. So I went in and I did the bones on the hair and the ears and all of that, and got it working in a way that I'm pretty happy with. There's a couple, and then I also went and adjusted animation like strength and stuff on things like the rest of the body because I was like, okay, on some of the animations there's like issues where the clipping on some of the um clothing is happening again. So I went and adjusted animation strength so that things did not clip anymore. And after I did that, it was like perfect, done, nothing was clipping anymore. It was beautiful. So that was where I finished the model itself. And then I jumped in I exported some images, and tried it out in my VTubing program that I have. It worked beautifully. So I will be right back with her. All right, here she is in all of her full glory. There is, in this particular program, there is a little bit of clipping on her shoulder, but I have not seen that in any of the other programs I tried out. This one I just ended up liking the most because it's got lip sync and stuff and face tracking and stuff without any fancy extra equipment that I do not own and do not intend to own. So this is the best for my purposes. The clipping is not a universal problem. I'm using VMagicMirror right now for this. Here's her final version. I really like that she's got face tracking. I think it's really cute. And her hair and ears move. And she's got all of these fun little details. And she's got face tracking. She's got other expressions other than just the shocked and the happy. But I, unfortunately, in real life, wear very large glasses and have blonde eyebrows. So, so even with the glasses off, the face tracking doesn't work on me, um, because it can't detect my eyebrows. But I'm not gonna pay a bunch of money for face tracking software and stuff when I use a PNG tuber and will not use it outside of testing this model. So, yeah, I'm very happy with her. She definitely makes me really, really, really happy. I love looking at her. I'm very happy with how she turned out. I wish she had a little bit more motion on her mouth, but all in all, there's definitely worse things in the world than her mouth not being the most motion. And I know that's pretty common with like anime style VTubers like this. I just not personally a fan of it, but I don't think there's actually anything wrong with it, you know? So here she is in all of her final glory. I hope you like her. And she is going to be on my VGen if you want to go get her. She's not going to be a one time. She's going to be up pretty much forever. She's going to be $25. You can get a copy of her. She's not a one of a kind or anything like that. Just because she's my first model, and I don't want to charge a crazy amount for, like, my first model ever. But I also don't want to, like, 9.5 hours of work, right? So, if you want to get her, oh, you saw the angry expression went there for a second because I glanced down to make sure I remembered what I needed to say. But anyway, she's up on my VGen. That'll be linked in the description. I will probably do one-of-a-kind models or VTuber model commissions in the future. I already will do a PNG tuber commission as well if you're interested in that. If you're interested in something more like the style of the one that I use personally. So go ahead, check out my VGen if you want. You can come get this girl, or you can get a PNG tuber or whatever else you might want. I got all sorts of fun stuff up there. If you don't have VTuber model money, $25 or one-of-a-kind model money or commission money or anything in the future, you can also always support my ability to keep making art by donating to me on Ko-fi. I have monthly or just one-time options, and Ko-fi members, people who donate monthly, get some exclusive perks. They get some stuff that other people don't. They also get early access to some stuff. Some of my videos will go up there before they go up on YouTube. And Ko-fi members also get to like suggest stuff and sneak peeks and works in progress of things that I don't post publicly. So, you know, if you're interested in that, you're welcome to. Or if you want to support me, but you don't have Ko-fi money either, it's not very expensive, but I know we're kind of in a terrible economy right now. So if you don't have Ko-fi money either, but you still want to like support me and just be like a positive voice encouraging me to keep making art and keep working on stuff, you can also always just join my Discord. Both it and the Ko-fi are also linked in the description of this video and in my YouTube like channel description. So these are all easily accessible things that you can do to help me out. And Discord is free. You don't have to be a Ko-fi member to join my Discord. You can just join it. How amazing is that? Sorry, I'm like really liking looking at this model. She's so cute. Alrighty. Thank you so much for watching, and I had so much fun doing this process. She was really fun to make. I'm really happy with her, and she's gonna be up for grabs for anybody who might want her. Have a absolutely wonderful day. Thank you so much, and keep learning. That's what art's about. Just keep learning. Bye-bye!